Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello, welcome back to Across the Park podcast. We are recording. If you look a bit flustered, we absolutely are. We've had car breakdowns, flying down M62s to bring you the show. So put this in every WhatsApp group because we need the views, if only to make us feel better about what we've just been through. My name's Ian Mills, of course, with Gary Judge. Thank you so much for clicking the thumbnail and joining us to talk about the mighty Blues. Now, we are going to talk the team on the pitch because we got a good result on Saturday. But there's a lot going on off it. It's a milestone week. It's a week that a lot of us have been waiting for a long time. So we are going to cover that a bit in depth because next week we're not too sure where we stand with shows, recording, a lot of turkey, a lot of beer. People are doing different things. So it might be the last show we get before the takeover is official. But Judge, let's first talk about a bit of a, for me, bonus point. I didn't expect it on Saturday. We watched it. What's your breakdown now with a Monday evening?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was it could be a massive point, as you say. It was definitely a bonus one. I mean, we didn't record last week. It was a bit of a weird week. Obviously, the derby being postponed, and yeah, I was on another podcast and I was quoted as saying that I wasn't harbouring any hopes whatsoever, and I thought that if we got away with a 4-0, that I'd probably take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you watch the first half an hour and Takeover has a great chance. We pretty much kept them at bay. Even the second half, they had that effort, I think it was from Saka, where Pickford makes a great save at the near post. Apart from that, it wasn't like a kitchen sink job. I thought that he's done a really good, typical Sean Dyche job of, old school Sean Dyche more, not as much we've seen this season. But I think it was just great seeing that defence playing the way that we were familiar with last season. And for me, it's not just been the return of Branthwaite. I think Mangala and Guy playing together, just having two, holding midfielders who just disrupt the play. Yeah. They both know what to do, and it feels a lot more balanced. And now when I say balanced, it certainly we look a lot more solid. That's probably the better word. Again, there's certainly not much going the other way, and we never ever looked like scoring, despite, as I say, Takeover's good chance. There wasn't a lot going the other way, but don't get me wrong, I think it's a great point, and to keep a clean sheet at the Emirates is no mean feat.
Well, you've mentioned there, and let's bring it back in, that we weren't holding on at any points. I mean, there was that mentality that it's Everton, and you never know what's going to come. But I had that feeling because it's Everton. It wasn't because we were being peppered. Pickford made a good save, and I think Pickford was good over 90 minutes, to be honest. But what you put that down to? Is it as simple as Mangala and Guy in there? They're helping a lot.
No, I think it's a combination of things. Obviously, we can't underestimate how huge a relief that win must have been at Goodison a couple of weeks ago against Wolves. Again, that was a clean sheet, and I think, like goals, clean sheets just breed confidence, don't they, at the back? And I think, we said it when Branthwaite was out for that long period, the difference he makes in there. He's such a calming influence. He's so athletic. Him and Tarkowski are so good in the air, and they're so, they welcome balls going wide. And I think, Arsenal's biggest threat this season has been from set plays, but we're such a big side back there with those two in there, and with Calvert-Lewin in there as well. So I think we were very comfortable dealing with their crosses and their set plays, which is their biggest threat. And as you say, Pickford was brilliant. I thought he was very good behind the two. And again, I haven't seen our better teams down the years. You look at it, and I think that the big factor for us has always, I think, I've been having two solid holding midfielders. The Barrys and McCarthy's and the Lee Carsleys, and it just feels like a very Everton thing for me, just having two players in front of two solid centre backs. We maybe didn't have that level of fluidity going forward, but you're not after that at Arsenal away. And I think, as you said at the start of the piece, it was definitely a bonus point.
No, I watched you on the Lega podcast last week, and you said that you didn't think Dyche was forming a plan to take the game to Arsenal. He was maybe Evan at 70% in training, and we've picked a bonus point up. But And I think you're right, and I think we've seen it. I think because there's probably times I'm being
They weren't
selfish,
expending any.
greedy.
Yeah, they weren't expending any energy, were they? On the
No,
it was like,
especially when Brozier came on and he had that run down the left. You're like, do you know if we had a 10 who was linking up with him here, would be on goal. So our forwards were isolated a lot, and we did have the game plan to probably go and get a point, like you said, at 70%, and we've done it. But again, and I'm not looking for negatives here. It does highlight that there's a lot of work to be done in that final third because another team would have nicked a goal.
yeah, I agree, and I think they were there for the taking on as Arsenal. I think a team with a bit more confidence and maybe a manager with a bit more bravery would have went and got the win. But don't get me wrong, before the comments start firing, and they will compiling in on us here as they always do, good or bad. Look, it's a good point. It's a very good point, and not many teams are going to keep a clean sheet at the Emirates this year. But I agree with you. I think they were there for this when it got to the 65th minute, and I credit to Zayt because I watched the game. It's the first time this season I've seen us make 2 changes before the opposition make a change. So I think he made the changes at the right time this time. I think Calvert-Lewin was very ineffective throughout the game. Equally, I thought that Lindstrom probably needs to come on because there wasn't a lot going on the flanks. But I thought he did make the changes at the right time. But yeah, I still would have loved to have seen us just trying. Even we got the corner, there was a bit of reluctance to should we put men in here.
Yeah.
But I get that, I think you're playing against a team like Arsenal, they're probably just as dangerous on the break, if not more dangerous.
Yeah, if you lose that in the 90th minute on a counter attack from a corner, he gets hammered.
You're absolutely hammering him, yeah. So I think you're right. You don't want to be critical, but you get to that point in the game and you start getting giddy as fans and you think, could we just do a bit more? It was a terrible game to watch. It wasn't a game for the purists, but again, I would have absolutely took that, and I think it could end up being, hopefully isn't a massive point come the end of the season, but you might look back at it and go, wow, that was a crucial one there.
You mentioned Lewin there, and you've said you didn't think he had the best of games. I think he was isolated. I think that's a factor, but I also don't see the Lewin of at least giving people problems in duels. Brozier comes on and he's dueling.
Yeah, he's running, as you say.
He's not looking to get injured, whereas I think there's an element of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, maybe not just because he's on a Bosman in January, maybe he does have nerves because of what his body's been through, but Brozier give me more on Saturday.
Yeah, he's running into challenges, he's barging into people. He's not just jumping up to chest it down or to flick it on and then just leaving it. He's genuinely pressing the opposition. I mean, again, he's coming on for 20, actually he was on for 25 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought he did look tired after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But that said, as you put it, he was putting himself about. He was running to channels. He was trying to be a threat. And I think we're going to probably see more and more minutes. And I wouldn't be surprised, certainly, to see him start a game in the next couple. I still think he's probably only going to get 60 minutes out of him if he does. But I think it's a breath of fresh air. You've got to look at it now and wonder, whether it's probably the last time we'll see Beto. You go into January, if you believe the rumours, there's quite a few Italian clubs that are interested. If you've got Brozier there and Brozier looks like he's going to stay fit and we've accepted that Calvert-Lewin stays until the summer and then he goes, then I'm not sure we're the type of squad that can afford to have 3 strikers knocking about. Chimiti's obviously coming back as well. Yeah. So I think that could be one to keep an eye on in January.
I do think Everton, although I'm resigned, I think Everton are resigned to losing Lewin. I do think we'll try and keep until the end of the season, just because of Brozier's injury record.
You can't afford,
and then Beto's.
You can't afford just to get 5 million for Lewin, just for the sake of getting some.
I wouldn't even take a 10 or 12 for him.
No, I wouldn't. No, it's not worth it for the risk of going down just because we have one number. We seen how bad it was a few seasons ago when we had, not even a few seasons ago, last season when we had Morpie leading the line.
What happens? You throw Michael Keane up front.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you throw Michael Keane up front.
Yeah.
When you don't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's done it at times with him. But yeah, I think if you can get money, if you can get a loan with an obligation for Beto, and then keep Lewin and hopefully Brozier and Chimiti.
And bring Chimiti on. I think if you get Chimiti fit again and he's playing and training with Brozier and Calvert-Lewin, I think he's got 2 decent role models there. And I was quite encouraged by the way he performed in pre-season and at the start of the season. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's probably a conversation for January, but I think that for me, that's probably the last time we see Beto in an Everton shirt.
Yeah, good results for the Blues on Saturday, but he can't play on Sunday. It's against the parent club.
Of course.
I seen a tweet that if Chelsea win on Sunday, they go top of the league, if only for a few hours, and enter Everton to, you know.
Be typical, that, wouldn't it? Typical. I mean, yeah, from a Merseyside point of view, it's been great to see their lead being chipped away at.
Yeah.
Even though we've done them something of a favour at Arsenal, I think even the Reds are looking at Chelsea thinking these are the threat here. These are the ones who could, derail our title charge. So be proper Everton to go and win against them. But look, we've got to focus on our own game. I think Liverpool are doing a good enough job already at dropping points. Let's let them keep dropping points, and hopefully we can pick some of our own.
Yeah, we're going to speak to a Chelsea fan on Thursday and get his opinion on my personal belief is Chelsea are a next season challenger, but I hope they do it this season obviously because City have fell off a cliff that derby yesterday against United. Quickly, what's that down to? Are they all just too old at the same point, or do you think there's been more to it? Falling out.
There's definitely a bit of that. I think there's a staleness to the forward line. I think where they has Alvarez last year, who could come in and deputise for Haaland, they clearly haven't got another like-for-like forwards. They haven't even got a forward, I don't think, who can play in that false 9 position, or is it that he's being that stubborn that he's going, you know what, we've got Haaland, we can't afford to employ anyone else in there. There's a lack of depth. I think there's a few people probably in that dressing room thinking, why the FNL did we let Cole Palmer go? But yeah, I think you've got players at the back like Diaz who look like they're struggling back there. Kyle Walker looks like he's struggling. Bernardo Silva looks like he's lagging behind. Grealish looks like he's gone stale. And
even Foden's not putting the numbers on.
No, they look leggy though, and it's no surprise given how deep they went in every competition last year, and also the fact that every one of them would have been playing for the countries in the summer, minus Haaland actually. So he was on the back of an injury, so it's I mean I can't say I'm not shocked because I am shocked at how steep the decline has been.
Yeah,
I mean it was somewhat amusing today though, speaking to some Man City fans. And I'm going, I've just never been in such shock to like lose a derby like that. I was like, no, we've been there plenty of times.
Welcome to how we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, everybody from Across the Park podcast, thank you to Manchester City. You've been great for the past 10 years, but all the best. Moving on.
But on another note, from a Man City perspective, what a result for the women yesterday.
I was looking to bring that in at the end, but you brought it in. Let's talk about it. Those women, we know because we've been around them and they're such nice people. We've always said they've had hard luck this season. They're not the best team in the league. Megan Finnegan was on the show last month saying we're not the best team in the league. We put 100% out every week. To see them so happy at the end.
Awards, yeah.
And I was there with Noah and the amount of little girls who were singing Spirit of the Blues and watching the women. But they were great, weren't they? They put a really good game plan in.
Says they're a proper team.
Tony Payne was hitting them on the break a lot. The hit pace was important. We scored from a set piece. We scored from a counter. And I thought that the game plan was good and they were brilliant.
Yeah, I've said it a few times. Like, having spent a bit of time with Brian Sorensen, the manager, and seeing what they do down there. They put a lot of work in. And again, people will be watching this thinking, I don't want to hear about the women. Honestly, you watch the work they put in on the training grounds and the technical work that they do in the game plan. And I sometimes wish I'd take Brian Sorensen as our manager. I'm not messing. So, yeah, I as a coach, by trade, I can't not admire when a job, a tactical job like that comes off. And as you say, they managed to beat a team that are way, way better resourced. Like, we're talking about the levels between them and City are comparable to us and City in the men's side, if not bigger, in terms of the gap of resource. So, yeah, fair play to them, but I just want to bring it up while we're on City rather than leaving them to the end like we do. They deserve to have a bit more recognition this week.
It was a great day at Walton Hall Park. Like, I was there with me little lads, and we were there with Tommy Wheeldon, friend of the show. He was with us. It was great to see Tommy. It was just I don't know, just a great. Julie was there from the fan advisory board as well, and you see the game. We've said a few times, haven't we, when you watch the women, it's different. And I feel you watch it through your kids' eyes. And to see the amount of joy it brought yesterday and the girls, it was just a great day. So well done to the Everton women. We did say at the start of the show, we are going to talk about what looks to be Momentous week. We are not in the nose at all. But what we're hearing is this week, the takeover will be announced. Premier League approval ends of last week. It's just with people who are making sure T's are crossed and I's are dotted at the minute. The handover, what we understand, of Bramley Moore will be complete from Lango Rourke on Friday. Another big moment.
Leaks have been sorted
Every
now.
builder who works there
Yeah.
just told everyone they've got next Friday off because the hand's over. But look, let's start with Farhad Moshiri's era at Everton Football Club and everything that comes with it. Your Benitez's, your Davy Claessens, your
Ancelotti.
Gabamans. I'm going to get to that. Your Bramley Moores, your Ancelottis, your relegation battles. James Rodriguez, you got me on that one pairing. It's been a reign of chaos.
Yeah.
And it's about to end. I think we as a fan base are absolutely ready for it to end. So we've spoke about in the past hypotheticals, what would we think, but we're here. This time next week, he's not going to be the owner of Everton Football Club. How are you feeling?
Yeah, relieved. Again, I like a analogy here and you know, comparing it to life, and it's like a relationship that you go into and you're so excited, and it's you have all of that, you know, that good stuff that goes at the start of the relationship, and you make all plans and look, I think whatever we think of Moshiri and where the money come from and how he mismanaged it, he was almost living that childhood. I own a football club. I'm going to spend and be giddy, and we're going to do all this and best laid plans and all that. He tried his best. His best was not good enough, and he was irresponsible at times, and he left the club without doubt in a right mess. But there were times, you know, that, as I say, he brought Carlo Ancelotti to this club, and I'll never be. I've got to be grateful for that. He brought James Rodriguez to this club, which, despite it being COVID, was still a magical time. He helped bring a great win at Anfield. He's helped, whether we, you know, he's helped build a stadium. How long have this club been waiting for a stadium like that? He made that happen, whether we like it or not.
Well, you've led me in to my next question for you, and it's loaded, it's layered.
Yeah.
But you've started answering it there. How does someone with such deep pockets put that much money, which he did at first, regardless of whose money it was? This man fronted it. He did put that much money onto the pitch. We've now got a stadium which is unbelievable, ready for us next season. We had Carlo Ancelotti. We had James Rodriguez. How does that not go right? How does it get? How does it not worked? Was there a time and place where you can look back and go, that's when I started worrying? Or for me, I was happy up until around 2 years ago, and in hindsight, I was looking back going, oh, I didn't notice at the time, but that was a bad, you know. And was it just, did he not bring the right people in? Was he clueless? Was it's a loaded question because I know there's layers to it, but for you as an Evertonian, where did it go wrong?
I think you know, we're led to believe that from a vocational point of view, he was an accountant, but he was an accountant for an extremely wealthy man, as in Usmanov and his dealings, and he was probably working in quite a unique sphere. We're led to believe, and again, this is not fact or whatever, but we're led to believe it wasn't his money, and he was allowed to spend that money at will. I just think he was living in a bit of a dream world. And it was a bit like someone who just won the lottery and just didn't know what to do with it. Like,
who was that Scotch fella or Geordie, the big lad who won it?
Yeah, they just buying big gold chains and all that. It was like buying, but it was the players are like cars, weren't they? He was accumulating all these cars, but then the cars were, you know, as minute he put his foot down, they weren't worth nothing, and then they didn't fit in the garage.
Yeah,
it was, you know, all. But then at the same time, he had this project in the background that was going on, which obviously we'd recognise as Bramley Moore, but then the project nearly fell through completely because he didn't have the money to finish it. It just got really messy, didn't it? And I don't think, you know, God rest his soul, Bill Kenwright. I don't think Bill Kenwright met with, you know, Farhad Moshiri when he didn't believe it was going to go this way. I think he believed, obviously, he did have the money, he did have the resource, whether it was his or not. I think he believed with his continued passion, and he would have believed that Farhad Moshiri would have been bringing in people who could manage that. Going back to Marcel Brands, he probably wasn't the wrong person, but he just didn't get given the right, you know, amounts of responsibility and accountability. And there was, as we know, there was people stepping over people's toes, left, right, and centre. So I think he made a lot of decent decisions, but he just continued to be that giddy lottery winner and owner who wanted to have the final say and wanted to stick his oar in. And yeah, it wasn't the best mix, was it?
I think the problem is, I think when you're looking at your club, and you sort of, most fans will lead with the heart over the head because you put your money in,
Yeah.
you bring your kids up, and it's your football club. If I look back at another football club and I seen them swapping managers the way he did, you went from one extreme to another. You backed Ronald Koeman and Steve Walsh, 200 million. And then you backed Allardyce to the tune of 80 million. And you had a mismatch of a squad, and then another manager comes in, he gets 100 million. The director of football doesn't want a manager, but you bring that manager in. I don't know at the time why I didn't say this was, and maybe there are fans out there who did, but I don't think it was a loud collective. I think
No.
if any other football club was doing that other than mine, I would go, use them mad. What are you doing?
I think we'd had such a barren period though, and again, going back to like normal life, it'd be the equivalent. You've lived on this council estate and you've made ends meet. You've always been happy, but you've just had to accept what you have to accept. And then someone comes along, starts investing in your community, and you see this big park. Oh, this is great. Let's go and play in this park. Not very safe, but let's play in it. It's a bit different. Now building this. Yeah, exactly. So I think we were genuinely just enjoying the fact that we had luxuries that we'd never had before. But these luxuries were not very well thought out, and they were not sustainable, which is obviously what we learn later on. So I don't regret being excited about it. I don't regret getting a bit carried away.
That's how you should be as a football fan.
Yeah.
We shouldn't always walk around and take life so seriously that we can't get excited. But when you look back in hindsight, there were so many bad decisions.
Oh, there were so many warning signs, weren't there? I think is what you were getting at. But, we didn't see them warning signs. I don't think some people in the club seen them warning signs. But, look, I think going back to the question in general, or the bigger question around like, what's his legacy? His legacy is that he put the club in a almost irrecoverable position. We were nearly going under. But he did make us dream for a short period, and he has contributed to the best thing that could ever happen to this club in terms of that new stadium.
It feels like we've had a bird or a girlfriend or a partner, I should say, to be correct. It feels like we've had a partner who was sometimes attractive, sometimes terrible, but left us the mansion at the end of it.
Yeah, beat us up, but then left us.
We've got so many mental scars from it, but now we're being left with something that we never would have had. Have we not met that person?
We've been left with some children, haven't we? Like children that no one can take that. Well, I say that typical Everton. If you take it away from us, but I don't believe it would just be. It'd take the club to go under for us to lose that stadium. It's probably the best. Look, I think it's the best legacy you could give us aside from a trophy. If you were to say to a load of fans, would you have took an FA Cup over Bramley Moore? Probably would. But
that's why it's loaded.
For the good of the club, that is a better, if you were to ask a businessman, Farhad Moshiri is going to be here for, how long was it in the end? 10 years?
He came in March 16.
Yeah, so
I'm nearly in 15 now.
9 years maybe. You say he's going to be in 9 years, and at the end of that 9 years, you'll have a brand new purpose-built stadium, probably the best in the country. Or you get one FA Cup and a few decent finishes. You'd probably went for the stadium. So I think from a business perspective, the club probably isn't. Well, it is in a better position than it was before he taken over. I don't think anyone can argue with that really.
You can't. I'm a little bit different to you in relation to. I think Everton's interim board and the investments and the loans and stuff to keep that going played a big part in keeping that going. I think he checked out. He checked out.
Without doubt. Listen, he as a person, as an owner in the last 2 years has been gone.
And that could have gone on.
He could, exactly. And that's a fair point. Yeah, I think there's been a lot of people behind the scenes, as you rightly point out, the interim board, the administrators, all the people who've been involved in just keeping the wheels on. Even 777, as much as they were an absolute train crash.
Andy Bell, George Down come in with their blue hearts. We've got to try and help this. Because the owner's gone.
Yeah.
He's only there in title. So I'm a little bit different. I do feel it's his legacy, but I feel he's almost he's almost borderline lucky that he's leaving.
Oh yeah. As I say, I'm not saying this is like, let's put like a small statue in the corner for Moshiri. No, not at all. But again, after all said and done, you compared it before to like a really messy marriage. If you forget all the bits in between and you just look at the outcome of it, it's not the worst thing in the world. But I agree with you. Even, as I say, even the 777 saga, like that money, without that money, we'd have gone under. So there's loads of points there where, to say, we've been bailed out by probably people we didn't want to be involved with, but even managers, we've been bailed out by managers that we wouldn't have wanted to be associated with.
Yeah.
But now, we've ended up, I'd like to think, okay.
Let's hope so. I want to end the Farhad Moshiri discussion, and I spoke to the lads at the Toffee Blues, who are our mates. They're over at Everton Newsfeed on Twitter, and it's the best Everton account on Twitter. It's brilliant. So if you're not following it, you should. And they put a tweet up asking Evertonians to discuss it, and they give us permission just to quickly go over it. So I'm going to some quick fire questions that the pair of us can maybe answer. The Moshiri answer. Give us your best game. I think for me, despite being locked on, it'd be the win at Anfield.
Yeah, I mentioned it in the piece. Then I would say so. I can't really.
I remember Silva done United 4-0 and a hot day, and that was a great day.
It was, yeah. And I you know what? There probably were. I think early under Silva, there was some really, really good performances. Ancelotti's, a lot of them. I mean, the game again. If there was a crowd attending that mad game where we beat Tottenham in the cup at Goodison, that was a crazy game, wasn't it? But yeah, I couldn't look past it because even if it was locked down, we went round to one of our mates and as a bit of a gathering. I'm sure it was illegal at the time, but I don't mind saying it now. And it was a good day. It was as good a performance as we've put in against Liverpool in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So I would probably go with that. Yeah.
Worst game. So you're looking at the worst game in the last 10 years.
Probably the Curtis Jones one, where yeah, I would say so. Even though the Origi one's going to be brought up, and it was horrible, but I still think Liverpool's kids beating us was considering. Yeah, I would say so.
I've gone on the record on this podcast saying that's the lowest I've felt initially after the game, because of what happened. But I just want to name one here, and I think it's right to name it because I think that's when the alarm bells started happening. We just brought in Benitez, and Watford done us 5-2.
God, yeah, man.
And everyone was like,
instant match reaction.
Yeah.
One of our most viewed instant match reactions.
And it was like, okay, we don't believe in him to fix it, the manager, and we're starting to not believe in him. And you're selling our best players.
Yeah.
And we're buying Andros Townsend, and no disrespect to Andros Townsend, but a 30-year-old, and I think that felt bad that day.
It did, yeah. It did, and it was that, you're right. It was when we started pointing the finger, going, well, the players out there are nowhere near good enough. The manager, we can't get on board with. Yeah, that was a particularly low moment. I remember, again, in our position, you do remember those games, unfortunately, for having to face the music after it and do an instant match reaction. And that one was a particularly grim one. I've just actually remembered a one which was a little bit better as well, which was Iwobi scores against Newcastle at the Park End. It was a massive win.
Yeah. I think it was that same season, actually.
It was towards the end of that season, though. I think Benitez had gone at that point, definitely. Lampard was in charge.
Yeah, because you're right. I think there might even been a coach greeting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was one of the first ones.
I think that was when the fans were like,
the
1878s, and some of our mates there who were brilliant, like Katie and Gemma and stuff. They were really ramping
What
up.
an up and down season that was. That was the. If that's a question, what's like the way? I've got to say that one just because of how crazy it was.
Let's continue. This is a great thing. I do encourage everyone to get involved over on the Everton Newsfeed Twitter. I can see some answers here, so I'm trying not to be led by them. But best signing. It's not credit to him, but it's just under his stewardship. What player were you most excited, or in hindsight was it the best signing?
I'd love to say James Rodriguez because it was just such a just amazing. I'm having him at the club, and some of the performances he put in were incredible. So if you're looking at like kind of the feel good thing, you'd say James Rodriguez. I'd have to say Jared Brandtwaite apart from that though.
Yeah, I'm going to upset you. Jordan Pickford for me. I think he's been essential for us. And I do agree with some of your points when you do.
Listen.
He can sometimes cost Everton points by his behaviours and stuff, and I do agree with some of that. But I just think we'd have gone down.
Pound for pound, the performances he put in, he's been the most consistent figure throughout the whole Rain. You'd have to say that, yeah.
This might be easier. Worst signing. So let's look at the managers who we
Rondon.
had. So Rondon was under Benitez, wasn't he?
Yeah, Rond. I was saying that though for the money, you couldn't say that, could you? Worst sign, Davy Klassen. I couldn't say Sigurdsson because I was a fan of Sigurdsson despite what he's done in his.
So Sigurdsson came for 45 million. I don't think we got value.
No, I don't think so. But he got goals and he did score goals
In 2017. I think 45 million is probably the 75 now, and that gets you more than 9 a year, I think.
Yeah, but he still put goals on the
And I wouldn't have a problem with it if he was 15 million. I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that I don't think I could put him as worst signing.
Yeah.
I think Davy Klassen's got to be worse than that. Was it 30 million or 20?
Well, yeah,
25?
you've got Blake Ashley Williams who come in, Yannick Balassi, John Gabaman came in.
God, yeah. But I mean,
and they all went on for nothing. They all went
Yeah.
So the damage they done to the books. But for me, the one player I could not stand.
Oh, Maupay.
Neil Maupay.
Yeah.
Did he win a competition?
No. Yeah, exactly.
It's signed for Everton if you collect 4 Kellogg's boxes.
But it was what again though? Relatively, it was what 11 million, 12 million. No, he was bad, like. But I just
we sent him back on loan to where we got him, and they didn't want him back.
Mm.
They were like, no, take him back again.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
He was one goal.
Cuco Martina. Gaza loves him.
This is a hard one, really. Craziest Moshiri moment.
It's got to be on Jim White, with Jim White.
Yes, I'm going for. Let's have a few answers on the feed. Appointing Benitez. The headlock gate that removed all trust between fans and board.
It wasn't him though, was it? A moment during the era. You mean headlock's got to be up there, like.
Yeah, there's a lot for Benitez. Really. I mean, I'd have to say the moment, and people could go back in the archives if they're bored enough. We'd done a reaction to Benitez coming to Everton, and we were gutted. We'd done a live show, and we all said, "We'll get behind him." But this is like your best mate and your ex getting together, and you've got to deal with it. Like it's not like
gotta go to the wedding.
Yeah, it feels horrible, and it didn't work out.
No.
And for whatever reason, logistically, perhaps he sold half of our attackers and brought in a defensive shape, which we were still in.
Yeah.
And that for me would be the craziest thing he did was hire Rafa Benitez.
Steve Walsh can't be far behind it though, as well.
Yeah.
Steve Walsh actually caused more damage than Benitez in, whether we like it or not.
And he gave him a job he wasn't qualified for.
Yeah. And again, I know a lot of people that were around him during that summer, and he was like drunk more than he was sober, spending Moshiri's money.
And finally, best and worst managers. Quite easy.
Yeah, it's Ancelotti and it's Benitez, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't disagree. We're closing the book on the Farhad Moshiri era, but with that brings in the Friedkin Group with a list as long as your arm off the pitch and on it. We've got, I think I could be right or could be wrong. Sorry, I think it's 8 players out of contract in the summer.
Players, yeah. Plus the players on loan, so it's
players 11. On loan go back probably because
it's 11, isn't it? Really altogether.
We haven't seen much of Brozier, but the other 2 wouldn't.
No, it's 11 players that we're going to be without, and I think that squad realistically is 18 players.
You need probably a new manager to director of football in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Contracts are ticking down. Or if you don't need them, you've got to have to make a decision on them.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think the director of football one is an interesting one. I think the Dan Ashworth thing has made things interesting. I mean, we're yet to find out why he's left United, whether it's a Ruben Amorim thing, whether it's a Jason Wilcox thing, whether it's a personal thing, we don't know. And I think that'll be a big factor as to whether Everton could swoop. How good or bad a job has Kevin Thelwell done? I think it's a little bit unfair to say he's done a poor job. I think some of the deals he's done have been fairly shrewd. Iliman Ndiaye I think was a brilliant signing this summer. Although he maybe hasn't hit the heights that he could have done. I think he's been a huge breath of fresh air. I think the investments hasn't been. I mean, you look at some of the signings like O'Brien were a bit. I'm not sure, but then again in a couple of years he could work out being good value for money. Nathan Patterson, another one, hasn't hit the heights yet. But again, young player. I think there's been a lot more of a strategic approach to signing since he's been around.
He's worked under this board who don't allow a director of football
Yeah.
to work, and he's managed to somehow reduce Everton's wage level.
That's it.
He's managed to keep Everton somewhat, competitive in the Premier League, if you will. That was,
and yeah, if you led to believe that he was the one who said, look, Sean Dyche can keep these wheels on for a few years, and whatever you think about Sean Dyche, he's been the right man for the job in this period. He has.
It's just gone on a little bit too long to how we're living through it.
Yeah, and again, if you believe the rumours, and again, we're not, as you said before, in this instance, we're not in the know by any way, shape or form when it comes to these matters. I'm not sure him and Sean Dyche get on. They don't seem to have a united approach on things. There's been signings that it looks like Thelwell's made that Sean Dyche isn't willing to back.
Yeah.
And you just don't know where the Friedkin Group sit on that, whether they've got a candidate in mind, whether they've got someone within their group that they're going to bring from another club, whether the Dan Ashworth thing is, or whether they actually like Kevin Thelwell and they're going to go, okay, we'll keep you for now, and you can replace the manager.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think you're right on Thelwell. I think it's so hard to judge the job he's done because there have been so many restrictions. It's easy to judge Lampard and Dyche because we see the tactical mistakes. Yeah, and Walsh, we knew he blew the kitty. He blew it.
Marcel Brands was a similar one, I think. You look back and go, was he being undermined?
He failed in the summer. He brought Keane and Gbamin in.
Yeah, true.
He spent 50 million on them too, and he brought Delphin as well.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh God, we've just lost a kind of guy there.
Yeah.
Like you really needed to get the younger guy and then go and get a striker who was ready. So he failed there. I do want to come back to a football question to close the show with the Friedkins, but I've said list as long as your arm in relation to on the pitch. There's also off it. We're led to believe that finances will be consolidated and equity will be done. That big beacon of hope needs a name. It needs to bring money into it. They're heavily involved with Toyota. You just never know. But again, lots to do because Everton, for a number of years, have credited the interim board for steadying the ship as much as they can. Colin Chong was initially brought in to help with the stadium, not really a football person. So they've got to get the right team off the pitch, haven't they?
100%. Yeah, commercially, as we say, strategically, they've got to have a group of people that are sitting there on a regular basis, debating the right things, being proactive, not reactive, improving the comms with the fans, making the most out of that stadium, both from a football sense and from a commercial sense, the way that Spurs have done with with their stadium. It could be, as I say, the best thing that this club has ever inherited or developed, that stadium, or it could be another chapter in a shit show. But you would like to think that the reputation this group is coming with, that they know what they're buying, they know how to get the most out of it. And you would like to think with the delay around the Premier League, rubber stamping the deal, that's what they've been doing behind the scenes, is getting all these plans in place. Because look, if you look at it from that perspective, they've got an absolute snip. They've either got the club for free or the stadium for free, whichever way you look at it. That money they've spent to clear the debt and all that, they're getting something free there. Do you know what I mean? They're getting a Premier League club for free or a brand new stadium for free.
The holding company, who it looks like they're using the name, it's available on Company's House. It was actually created, I think it's Toffee or something. It's Everton themed. Created in January 2023. So these, and sometimes it's not nice to say this, Evertonians, they've been lurking. They've been waiting for the snip.
Waiting for the right time, yeah.
So they've been waiting for a while, and that could have been administration, it could have been relegation, but they're obviously coming in. They seem committed to have waited this long. Final question, again, a bit of a loaded one. What should they do in relation to the director of football and the manager? Because I think we could agree that Sean Dyche is probably not on borrowed time, but he's not the long-term manager for Everton.
Yeah.
Do they just allow him to carry on in the event it may get worse and then they act late? Or do they come in, should they be strong enough, if this is the scenario, and say, you are not our man, thank you so much for the last 2 years, but this is day one and we're going in a different era? Because if they already believe that and they just delay it, is that...
I think to answer your question, the decision should be with the future director of football.
Okay.
Is my answer to that question. So if they've got another candidate that they believe is the right director of football, then that candidate should be brought in first. If that candidate can be brought in straight away and they believe that there is a adequate replacement for Sean Dyche that can also be a medium term, fit. Doesn't have to be someone who's going to be here in 5 years' time, but it's going to take us on, going to walk in that stadium and be fit for that stadium, and it's going to move us up the table. It's going to bread some of the players that we brought in that maybe this director of football believes we haven't got the most out of. One thing I'll say about Sean Dyche, which is a negative as opposed to the compliment I given before, there's very few players he's improved. Brantwaite's probably improved, but he's a quality player.
When you're that good, you're always going to improve. Yeah.
I'm struggling to look around and go, yeah, he's improved him. McNeil's had a decent spell this season, but he's not, he hasn't come on massively as a player. Calvert-Lewin's been fitter, but not better. The system has improved. He's implemented an improved system to get results, but he hasn't improved players. In order for the club to push on the pitch, more players need to improve, which improves their valuation for us to either sell or pushes the team further up the league. So the first thing we've got to do is get going into that new stadium with new signings, which we will inevitably need to make because of the players who are leaving. We need a coach or a manager who's going to improve players on the pitch, and we need a director of football who knows which players we should keep, which players we should be bringing in. So the director of football needs to come first, and he or she needs to decide when Sean Dyche goes and when the new manager comes in.
Do they do that now, /January,
or
do they wait?
It depends, doesn't it? If Kevin Thelwell is their answer and they believe that he's...
I don't think he will be.
Well, if he isn't, then I don't believe that, in my opinion, there is a replacement that I can roll off the tip of my tongue now who is ready now, who I think is definitely the medium-term fit for Everton.
If they came in and in January, regardless of Everton's next 2 or 3 results, and they communicate it and they say, we thank Kevin Thelwell and we thank Sean Dyche, but we believe Dan Ashworth and Lee Carsley are the men and we're bringing them in now. Would that be
that's brave? It's made me smile thinking about it. Now, I don't think Lee Carsley at this moment in time is, if he was going to be brutally honest, is completely ready for the Everton job. However, with a top technical director and someone who he's worked with in England, which he has under Dan Ashworth, I feel more excited and optimistic about those 2 names than I do about Kevin Thelwell and
Sean the elephant
Dyche.
in the room with Ashworth being linked to us is again Graham Potter.
Potter.
It's the same scenario.
These
are our men and we're bringing them in on day one.
Yeah, but
Moshiri should have done. We're doing.
Listen, that's what they should do. And going back to it, if they've got their director of football in situ, they get that person in, and that person's first job will without doubt be to address the head coach situation, because he'll want to be using that 5 months or however long's left in the season to be game on game looking at those players that are out of contract. Can we keep 2 or 3 of them or not? And looking at the players out there we bring in. They want to use that time between now and the end of the season. No matter how successful we are on the pitch, they'll like to think that there's enough in that squad to keep us up, but they'll want to be using the rest of the time proactively to get this team ready for next season.
Next 6 months is going to be interesting. Let's just hope it's not chaotic. Look, there's different ways it can go, isn't there?
Of course there is, yeah.
The likelihood is there'll be test games at Bramley-Moore soon that we can go into. It's going to be nice for us to go and see Bramley-Moore properly, and maybe the women get a game there, who knows. We've got a new owner coming in, and I think it can go so many different ways. It's quite exciting. It's also nerve-wracking at the same time. We don't want these guys to get it right, but it's to get it wrong, sorry, but I just think we've had a tough time. When you look at a fan base who've gone through what we've gone through with just one of team or board, and we've had so much, and then we mentioned before the 1878 who've continually got the fans up. I think it's time for us to maybe just reset, and then we get some rewards of it. But Judge, it's been great to talk to you about a great point at the weekends, and like I said, we're at the end of an era we've struggled in, so it's nice as well. Big thank you to Lee at Globe Gas and Heating, our amazing sponsor. He's a busy man over Christmas, and he loves it when you quote across the park. He will give you a free quote for that. He always gives me a little text and says, your listeners have got in touch with me. So thank you so much for that. Thank you to the amazing Podcafe for putting up late with us tonight, because we've had some car trouble and traffic jams and stuff. And thank you so much to you guys for once again choosing to tune in to Across the Park podcast. We really do appreciate it. We are back on Thursday speaking to Charlie, the Chelsea fan, about the big game this Sunday. There's going to be an instant match reaction. We'll try and get something out before Christmas as well. But if you don't get to us before then, me and Judge, we wish you and your families very, very Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Up the toffee.